Hello and welcome to Lois Ancestral. Today we're going to be doing some divination, some mystical divination. We're going to be using language flashcards that I've created and dice. And we're going to be using this mystical game, this mystical divination session to explore attracting more money. So this is for all my mystical folks who want to get that coin, There is nothing unspiritual about money. So without further ado, let's get into it. So today we are focusing on attracting more money. So I will be relating everything that happens back to money and how to attract more money. So let's see what comes out. So not immersing yourself in the present moment is the same as putting money in the fire. Yeah. We're also looking at how the perspective that you hold affects not only how much money you invite into your experience, but also how you perceive your experience in general. Then we're looking right now at the breath. I'm also hearing present moment breathing. So let's all take a breath. The energy of money is the energy of abundance, and the energy of abundance is a grounded energy. So breath and the body are important. Receiving the gift that each present moment is bringing to you is important when it comes to money. So let's develop what we have here. So how or what is it important for this group of people to see to support them to attract more money? So there is an identification in this group that is not supporting the attracting of more money into your experience. We have a yes, so we're on to something, and it's about your beliefs. Clear, we have it. So let's focus on integration, looking at the identification and the beliefs that are held in this group that do not support the attracting of more money. So let's clear the table and focus in. So should we keep the same deck or should we swap decks? Even number, keep it. Odd number, swap decks. Even number, keep it. Okay, so the only difference between these two decks is that it's one deck. I just can't hold and shuffle it all. So there are just different cards in each one, but they are part of the same deck, which I call the language flashcard deck. So what is the identification that you are not seeing? In other words, the belief that you are holding that is not supporting you to attract more money. So it's in the shadow, it's not being seen, it's in a blind spot. And it is a block with receiving. So this shadow, this belief, this identification interferes with your ability to and or your perception to receive. Perspectives. Fire, we have the same cards again. Gift. Okay. So your perspective makes the difference between whether you are in essence throwing money into the fire or relating with money as a gift, receiving money as a gift. So what is this shadow that is not being seen, that is not supportive to attracting money? It's a limiting belief. We need to clarify something about this limiting belief. So let's focus in. What is this limiting belief? Okay. Okay, it is a belief about it not being possible to close the gap between where I am and where I want to be. And what I am sensing is a relationship to possibilities itself. So money must come in this way. And I've already decided, or I've already know that this is how it's going to happen. Or I've already decided and I already know that it's not possible. So how am I going to close the gap between where I am and where I want to be? In this case, receiving more money. I either already know how it's going to happen, or I already know that it's not possible. So there is an identification with I already know how, or I already know it's not possible. So watch out for what I have decided. Watch out for what you have decided and what you think you already know. Because to receive money, the relationship with possibilities needs to be open. Needs to allow mystery. So it could happen like this, or it could happen like this, or it could happen like this, or it could happen in a way that I cannot even see. It could be a mystery to me how it happened, but it could happen and it could be possible. So let's look at what keeps, actually I'm just going to check. So repetition. So we're going to repeat looking at the limiting belief, because it is not always as simple as, oh, here is the limit and here is the open perspective. Ta-da, have fun, it's fixed. The human mechanism is a little bit more complicated than that sometimes. So let's repeat. What keeps this group apart from receiving more money, or perceiving the money and the abundant energy that is already here, perceiving possibilities? So a disconnection from the present moment, or an overlooking of the present moment, an identification with something that is not all of who you are. Something needs to be clarified about abandonment. Okay, so controlling how things need to happen is a prison that clouds the perception of possibility. And possibility is everything. This, what we're doing here, this divination, this game, is a game of possibility. In a way, the game of life is a game of possibility, because everything exists as a potential. And the way that you think, speak, and act, like many factors, influence what possibilities end up manifesting. So controlling the possibilities or the potential or the outcome too much becomes a prison, because all I can see is how it should happen, or how it's not possible to happen, or how I have already decided that it is or is going to be. It is a prison that I understand this now. It's a prison that is an abandonment of flow state, because if I am controlling everything, or I've already decided how everything is, I am not able to flow in the present moment, because there needs to be a balance between planning, aiming, direction, and mystery, flow, experimentation, opening to what could be, not knowing what's going to happen. And something that's also very important to money is play. Okay, something else that is important to the attracting of more money is collaboration. Something needs to be clarified about the mind and flow state. So the mind is often very misunderstood, and it's like, in order to flow, you must dismiss your mind or exclude your mind, and it's a misunderstanding. The mind can be supportive to flow state. Now, the mind is not the one in charge. The mind is an aspect. that collaborates to support flow state, because if we resist the mind, the flow state that happens is somehow forced. But if we also allow and include the mind, the being and the mind can flow harmoniously and collaborate, because the mind is a very important tool in the 3D world. The mind is the one designed for the 3D world. The being is more expansive and it's in many dimensions. The mind is mainly focused in the 3rd dimension, and it's a tool. The mind is supportive to creating money if we use it as a tool. If we exclude it or abuse it or forget that it is an aspect of us, if we use like transcendental bullshit against it, just like, have no mind, or don't listen to anything your mind says, or basically it's dismissive. And so it's about cultivating presence and collaborating with the mind in a supportive way. So now we're going to look at are you sure, which is symbolizing knowing the way that it is or deciding that it is like this. So it's what we were talking about before. Are you sure that this is how it is, or that this is going to happen, or that this is possible, or that this isn't possible, sorry. So when the mind says it is like this, or it isn't like this, or this and this and this, a question that I find supportive to ask the mind instead of dismissing it is, are you sure? Because then it reconsiders, no, like, this can support the mind to open up to possibility. It is like this, or it's not possible. Are you sure? So let's swap decks and see what wants to come through that is important for supporting this group to attract more money into our life situations. So we need to clarify something about a new approach. So what kind of new approach could be taken? Something that's coming to me very clearly right now is that there is an energy of trying to figure out what's going on, or trying to make this reading resolve, or trying to arrive somewhere. And so in this moment I am inviting that it's okay if it feels unresolved. It's okay not to understand, and it is okay to open and receive the new information that flows in this moment. It's like being on the edge between mystery and what's familiar. And if we are supposed to understand, it will happen naturally. And if we need something like some information, then the asking or the resistance from the mind will become so strong that we need to support it. So let's see what happens. So at the moment, feels like we can open to a new approach. So something needs to be clarified about the human aspect of existence, and this I already know that we talked about. So what is it about the human aspect and I already know? Okay, so it actually seems like a going deeper into what we were just saying. Like, the new approach that I am proposing is to include the human aspect, to look with compassion at the part of us that decides it already knows, or decides the way something is, because it is our nature, it's part of our nature. We are both human and being, and the one who already knows may not be able to see everything, but that does not mean that it acts for no reason or contains nothing valuable. So in a moment it might need something. So how does this relate to attracting more money? How does treating the human aspect and the mind and the one who already knows how it is relate to attracting more money? because this aspect needs consideration. So when we have resistance, it is not happening for no reason. The reason why a part of us could believe it's impossible for me to attract money, or it has to come this way, or any of these ways that it digs its heels in, is because it's letting us know, here we have a sticking point, here we have a point of attraction. So could it be in the best interest of the resistance and of you to explore, why is this part resisting right now? What happened to it? Because a lot of our vibration when it comes to attracting money, especially if it's not working, is rooted in what happened to us in the past. So what happened to the one who resists the attracting of money in the past? Because I feel looking at that is supportive to figuring out how to attract more money. So let's look deeper now. Looking deeper at the resistance in this particular group, what has happened to you that causes resistance to attracting money? So look again. So I'm feeling a trauma that caused a closing down to possibilities, and it's something that's not obvious to you. It might be something that you've not seen before. What do you mean mutual? Not obvious? Oh, it's not obvious, and it's something that you haven't seen before, something in a blind spot. It's a trauma related to play. Yes, because something else is upside down, that's implying yes, it's a trauma related to play. Play is vital to the attracting of money. So in what way has there been a trauma that interferes with the attracting of money? A trauma in relation to play and also possibilities. So something needs to be clarified about the past. So let's take care because it's delicate, and focus. Let's support this group to look at a trauma around play which interferes with the attracting of money. Right now what I'm doing with the dice is a kind of playing, looking for patterns or seeing what comes out. Sometimes makes sense obviously straight away, and sometimes it doesn't. So we seem to have missing the numbers 3 and 4, and they want to stay out. So okay, it could be around the age of 3 and 4. What happened? Hello, we have a cat. Thank you, Baba. I need you to stay there. I know, I need you to stay there. Thank you. So it could be around the ages of 3 and 4 that a trauma around play happened. So this feels more like an invitation to drink some water. So when I was drinking water and resetting the table camera, I thought of something important, and it's that we're not going to get extremely specific when it comes to the trauma, because there are many people watching this who all have like a slightly different expression of this trauma. So if we keep it a little bit general, then you can understand how it applies to you, and then maybe you can feel the details yourself, but we can get the general flavor of the trauma together, because we are sharing an imprint, like a trauma imprint, but we're not sharing the same story here. So let's look at the imprint. So what is this trauma related to play, and how did it affect the receiving of money in this group? Okay. What is this trauma related to play, and how did it affect the receiving of money? Okay, so it seems like the adults that you grew up with were not connected to compassion at all times while you were playing. Because of an identification with the mind that could not see anything else. So like an overcompensative identification with the mind that is not receptive or responsive to anything else apart from its perception. So an identification. So let's have a look at this identification. Interestingly, at the beginning of the reading, we were talking about ourselves and how there's an identification that is not supportive to the attracting of money. So it could be that you took on this identification yourself also. So it's a manipulative identification, or an identification that affects your relation with manipulation, because play and also manifestation and things like this, it is a manipulation of energy, but not a sadistic manipulation of energy. I mean manipulation as in like changing it, molding it, like clay. However, it seems that we came to understand the word manipulation in a more sadistic way because of how we felt in experiences when energy was being manipulated in the home. So it seems that while we were playing and manipulating energy in a more light-hearted way, what we were observing around us was the adults manipulating the situation in a more controlling way. So we began to learn to control, to overcompensate with control in play. So there is an identification with controlling the situation because of being controlled when we were younger. So what happened when you played when you were a child? For example, something that comes to me in this moment is that sometimes when I played, it was received in a way that was very different to how I expected it to go. So I'm sharing joy and I'm playing, and I'm met with, that's too loud, stop, someone's gonna get hurt. So it was like shut down. And so I learned that if I play openly, I'm gonna be met with a negative consequence. So basically, I need to be manipulative about the way that I play in order to avoid negative consequences. So, is there anything else that needs to come out about the trauma that we're focusing on in order to clarify this for the group and help each person understand how to relate it to themselves? So this trauma, this way of relating to control, to manipulation, and to play, and to possibilities need to be resolved. So how can we resolve the trauma that we have around play, control, manipulation, and possibilities to support us to attract more money. Okay, what do I believe about play? Go. Okay, so I believe about play. If I play, I get in trouble. If I play, the adults disapprove of me. If I play, I lose, basically. So, if I believe that every time I play, I lose, am I gonna trust the game of life? Or am I gonna begin to feel that I have to be manipulative about how I play? So, the reason for the control and the manipulation is so that I do not lose. So when it comes to how I am playing the game with money, I am not playing freely, I am playing manipulatively and in a controlling way so that I don't lose. So the core belief is that, what is the core belief? Let's just check. The core belief is about deciding that my flow state makes me lose. So in order to win, I need to abandon my flow state. So we need to resolve the relationship with the flow state. So how do we go from believing that our flow state causes us to lose in relation to money or the consequences of the other adults, or in adult relationships, our friends, our jobs, our situations and things like this? What is going to support the resolution of the relationship with flow state, play, money, to support us to receive more money? So something is in the shadow about exchange. Okay, we're gonna swap decks. Okay, so when it comes to making exchanges in relation to money, business, even relational exchanges like friendship ones, we'll focus in on money though for the sake of this video. The focus is not play, taking care, openness to possibilities. That's in the shadow, because what is the familiar way of doing this is control and manipulation. And it's not a bad thing, it's just what was learned. It's just not working anymore, that's all. Because we learned it in the past and it's not supportive to receiving more money in your experience. It's a limit. So we have found a limit in the relationship with exchange. And of course, exchange is very important to money. Money is part of an energy exchange. I exchange something authentic or something of value, and money is returned to me. I exchange something that people need, and money flows to me. So what is the limit in this exchange? Is that exchanges are mutual. So if there is an authentic exchange that can happen that includes money, the person who needs what you have to offer needs it, and also you offer that naturally. It's a mutual exchange and there is no need for manipulation. It's that if someone needs what you have to offer, they will pay for it. End of story. There's nothing that you need to do to influence them, control them, or manipulate them to pay. It's something that happens naturally in response to authentic sharing. And the people who need that, it's like going into a shop. Yep, I'll have one of those. However, if there is something going on, like, okay, I need to do this so that they this, and there is like a manipulation going on under the surface, I'm not actually sharing myself authentically. I'm sharing myself so that they pay me, or I'm sharing myself so that I don't lose that customer. It's like there is a limit to the quality or the authenticity of what can be expressed if my focus is on manipulating and controlling the people who might be my customers to pay. So, consideration. Now, what I'm going to do is allow everything that we've talked about today to collapse and see what else wants to come through. So there have been a lot of processing that happened to support the mind and to support the parts of us that are in resistance. Enough of that has happened to allow the possibility to collapse the structure and see what wants to come through in a completely new way. As I did say at the beginning, this is a mystical exploration. So something needs to be clarified now about the spirit. So, expanding the perspective. How? What is it about how? Journey. Okay, I'm a little confused. What is important for this group to know to support them to attract more money into their experience, or something that is important for us to know as a result of asking this question? Okay, I can feel something moving under the surface. So what is wanting to be communicated right now? So we have needs and smell the roses. Okay, so not only when it comes to money, but life in general, needs are incredibly important. The meeting of needs and becoming clear about what it is that you need and asking for that directly is, in essence, the end of manipulation. Because what is manipulation in the sense of the shadow manipulation is not being direct about what we need and going in the back door to try and get it because of what has happened to us in the past that made it not okay to need that, or we learned that other people are not going to meet my needs and things like this. But whether or not we believe it's okay to ask for what we need, do we stop needing it? No. So what I am receiving is that it's important to investigate what you need and go for it directly in life, at the same time as what do you have that others need, and to offer that authentically. What do I enjoy to offer? What am I good at offering that I enjoy to offer that other people need? And to offer that, because this in essence is what you can exchange for money. This is the authentic offering that you have that can be exchanged for money. It's also important in life, especially when it comes to money, to take time to smell the roses, because all of this work, this forward movement, this expansion that is happening, we cannot get it finished. And so be careful with rushing to the end and then, oops, I'm dead. Like, smelling the roses, what do I mean by that? Is allowing time to simply be, and for this moment to be enough. Now, that is not saying that we'll never move again, that we'll never do anything to support the creation of situations, opportunities, the participation of things that support you to attract money. It's just about a balance of both. So we need forward movement, proactivity, direction, vision, planning, and we also need openness to mystery, receptivity of the present moment, mindfulness, smelling your fingers, smelling the roses. It's a dance between now and movement towards the future. It's a dance between now and closing the gap between where I am and what I want. The future is not supposed to dominate the present moment in a way that strips the joy out of it, or in a way that strips the presence away. The access point for power is when the vision of what's possible or the future supports the present moment to manifest in the fullest way that it can. And it is this point where these two dance that is abundant. When vision of the future supports the manifestation of the full potential of the present moment, when the things I want in the future actualize here and now from where I am with what I have. In essence, it's what's next or what's unfolding. And as more information arrives from the future, it's how do I get all parts of me on board with that, or are there any parts of me that are not on board with that, and what do they need, and how can we all collaborate to manifest or to facilitate the unfolding of the highest potential in the moment. The highest potential of the moment is the most abundant timeline. Communication between all parts is very important, because very often what is preventing the manifestation of money in the moment is that a part of you is not on board with the creation of the abundant possibility. Why might a part of you not want to attract money? Because what have been the consequences for having money? What happened when you asked for money in the past? All of these kinds of things. Why isn't it safe to attract money? So this part needs support to understand what is happening and to understand how parts of you do perceive that it is in your best interest to receive money. So it's important the communication between the part that doesn't want to receive money and the part that does, and the collaboration of those two to find a win-win. Because it's important not to play a zero-sum game between the part that wants to receive money and the part that doesn't. Together, they may have a new idea that's infinitely better than if one was to win out over the other. So it's very important to be aware of these kinds of games being played between parts of us. Because a very common pattern of human beings to play zero-sum games between parts of ourselves. What's a zero-sum game? I win and you lose. Another example of a zero-sum game. I am just going to enjoy the present moment and I don't care about my desires. Versus, I am just gonna go towards my desires and I don't give a shit what happens in the present moment, because all that matters is this forward movement. What can happen when those two work together can be, I really want to have a very immersed experience in the present moment, says this part. I really want to move towards what we want in the future, says this part. So what can happen when these two collaborate? Okay, do you have an idea of something that we want in the future where there is a step that we can take right now that feels very immersive? Yes. I actually think that if we focus on doing some work that creates money, but also we can choose something that feels immersive to you, then I can feel satisfied and you can feel satisfied. Yes, I agree. Okay. It can look something like this. So usually when two parts of us work together, it's possible when parts of us work together that were opposing each other, that conflict is on the precipice of a miracle. The third point, the win-win, the non-zero sum game, the potential, the possibility, the mystery. So how does this relate to everyone attracting more money? Let's get super clear as we go towards what feels like the end of the video. Let's rein in everything that's been said and clarify it to become practical, clear, applicable, and digestible and easy to understand. Let's focus, let's conclude, let's resolve if that's what wants to happen. Let's take everything that's happened so far, plus any new information that wants to come, and aim towards resolving everything to support this group to attract more money into their life situation. Perspectives. So different parts inside of us hold different perspectives, and it's really important that there is communication between these perspectives because they all are valid. They all have reasons for thinking and feeling and acting the way that they do. So communication between all of these parts is extremely important in life, and also when it comes to attracting money. Immersion in the present moment is very, very important when it comes to enjoyment of life and also the attracting of money. Now, what is this blind spot? Closing the gap. So let's focus in on how to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be, where you are and the financial situation that you want to experience. Be aware of the way that you feel and the perspective that you hold. For example, I am not enough. I'm doing it wrong. It's not possible. This is how it needs to happen. Or the only way is this. Or it didn't work last time. Or something like this. Be aware of this closed possibility. It can be supportive in those moments to ask, are you sure? If it's something very painful and very persistent, perhaps there needs to be some shadow work to give this part the love that it needs and to understand more about what is happening. Perhaps there needs to be some parts work. Perhaps there needs to be communication between the perspectives. It is also possible to remember, to exercise, to practice the muscle of remembering. Are you sure? The nature of reality is possibility in this time-space reality, and so it could be possible. It could happen like this. It could also happen like this. It could also happen in a way that I have not seen. How could I use my focus in this moment to feel as though I am moving towards what it is that I want to manifest, more money, and what could be the most immersive way of doing this? Because the abundant point or the experience that is being looked for is the point where my forward moving focus towards what I want merges with the present moment, and I am in an immersive experience that is in alignment and that is expanding, and that I am not necessarily still even remembering what I am trying to create, because I am connecting with the feeling of having it now, the feeling of abundance, the feeling of immersion, the feeling of belonging, the feeling of harmony, the feeling of creativity. These are all very abundant energies, because not only is it about creating money, why is it that you want to create money, because of how you think it will feel, because of what you think it will enable you to have: freedom, joy, abundance, belonging, connection, creativity, flow. So also feel the manifestation of these experiences vibrationally, because they begin as a vibration and they already exist inside of you. So everything that you've experienced throughout your life that was unwanted, that you didn't want, that was a contrasting experience, that was a trauma, created the opposite potential inside of you, and source energy becomes that immediately. So it is about attuning, finding, supporting, flowing, moving, calibrating to this energy and supporting it to manifest now, and allowing yourself to have gentle healing experiences if that's what is needed. Sometimes you might just need to take care, sometimes you might need to do some healing, sometimes you might need to rest, and sometimes it might be time to support the potential to manifest in the present moment, inspired by your vision of the future. So is there anything else that wants to come through before we close, to support this group to find what they are looking for? So moving and acting in alignment with your integrity is important when it comes to attracting more money. It's also important when it comes to quality of life, because as human beings, we feel best when we move with integrity. The people of this group have a lot to offer, a lot to share. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself, as well as manifesting what you desire and enjoying the present moment, because they are mutually beneficial to each other. Practice being lucid in this present moment. It's when our most clear connection to existence happens. Keep an eye out for what limiting beliefs crop up. Work with them, understand them, do healing for them if needed to. Ask them, are you sure? Remember, recognize the nature of infinite possibilities. Stop. Breathe. Look at the way that you are interpreting the moment, and how interpretation can either keep us stuck or be a medicine. So if I interpret, I'm alone right now with no money, and that means that I'm fucked, basically. It's valid to perceive that way and to interpret that way. If I ask myself, are you sure? Could it be that a part of me is hurt and that's why it feels that way? That's why I'm wearing these glasses. Could it be that in this moment I'm alone and that I might not have the money that I want? And that it could be possible for me to figure out things that I could try. Talk to people who might have ideas, that might want to collaborate with me. Have I ever got myself out of a stuck situation before? So can you see how those different interpretations and questions and this playing with the energy opened me up from I'm fucked to what's available to me that I can try? Manipulating energy. There's two different meanings that we've been using for manipulation here. One, controlling it for my own personal gain. Two, playing with the manipulation of energy, like the molding of clay. manipulation. So if I am manipulating my beliefs, this is very healthy. If I am manipulating money to come to me, or like otherwise the moment is not complete, this is the other kind of manipulation that we talked about earlier. Because in this moment, whether or not money is arriving in the way that you think it should or that you want it to, whether or not the numbers are in the way that you think they should be or that you want them to be, something else is also happening. So take care. Because I could dig my heels in about how it is and, in essence, get myself more stuck. Or I could take care of the energy. I could take care of my relationship to possibilities. I could take care of what it is in my power to take care of. And if I don't feel capable of doing any of that right now, I could just take care of myself. Because if I am focused on that money is gonna be the answer, I might not hear the child crying inside of me that needs to take care and that has a very valid reason for not wanting to attract money. So this is also about becoming receptive and responsive to yourself, to the moment, to needs. What is needed? What is needed? Expanding the vision to include the whole picture. So money is a part of the picture. My needs are a part of the picture. There are lots and lots of different aspects of life. What needs my attention? Because if the situation with money is feeling stuck right now, it could be that something else needs your attention, and it could also be that by immersing yourself in something else, you get the idea about money. It's possible. It could be in a moment if something is not happening. Wait. Watch out for the interpretation. Something is wrong. I am wrong. Move with deeper receptivity. Stop, wait, cultivate present, receive the moment, and move with responsiveness to what is needed. Because the agenda needs to be secondary to receptivity and responsiveness to the moment and what's needed. So always when we've been doing this exercise, we have been focusing on how to attract more money. We have also been receiving and responding to the energy of the moment. And in some moments, if money is not the thing that needs to be focused on, it's okay to move with that and see how everything has an intelligence, and that it's healthy to allow the natural flow of everything, because money doesn't like to be constricted. Money likes it when we look around and we enjoy and experience the things that we collaborated with money to create. Money likes to be enjoyed, exchanged, moved, played with. Money likes to be focused. Money likes flow state. So Is there anything that this collective needs to know before we finish? One last final piece of information. What is it important for us to see right now?
It's important that you've got your claws stuck. There we go. Right.
What do you think? Shall we pick another card, Lou? Receive the moment. Receive everything. The more that we take in and receive, the more information we have to guide our response. And the more parts of existence that we are relating to as we flow. And the more receptive we can be to our own trauma to understand if it needs anything. There is always, this is one of the only things that I'm sure about, there is always an element of surprise to life and to existence. Uncertainty is a very fundamental part of the way that this time-space reality is, and also that the nature of who we are is not even completely known to the deepest part of itself. We are also here to discover it. So this information that we played with today, everything that came through, is a tool, and I offer it to you to support you, and whatever you receive from it is perfect. And I want you to share with me what you received from today. So I would love it if you can leave a comment to let me know what you received, or if you have any questions about anything that was said today, things like this. So I am leaving things with an element of surprise at the end, because there is always an element of surprise to life, and for me to keep this awareness is very freeing, because if I ever box myself in and think I know, usually the question inside of me, am I sure, triggers, and I open up to surprise. Because honestly, if you're in a really stuck place, the recognition that I don't know everything is an absolute medicine. And also, surprise is fun. Surprise is something that money and manifestation needs in order to reach you in a less limited way. Because if I say to money or to life, it needs to happen like this, I am limiting the universe. But if I am open to possibilities, then the possibilities really are endless as to how things could happen. So I leave you with the piece of information about remember mystery, remember the element of surprise, remember openness to possibility. Remember that anything can happen at every moment, and I understand that that's scary, and I also understand that it's magical. So
Can we be careful with the microphone because it makes a lot of noise?
So thank you so much for watching. I will see you back here again soon for the next Lowest Ancestral video. And I would like to say a special thank you to the part of me that judges my every fucking move. Love you, bae. It's normal. We are all simply doing our best. Isn't it funny that we are like learning how to be ourselves while at the same time learning who we are, and at the same time not knowing and just doing it and just being and just unfolding? And yeah, what is life? I know, right? Who am I? Who are you? May you attract all the money that your heart desires. Take care. Lots of love, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Namaste.